Is your child being exposed to explicit content online without even searching for it? Porn is not just on certain websites in the dark corners of the internet. It's on social media, gaming consoles, music streaming services, eBooks, even chatbots. This world is flooding kids with pornography. And if you're not actively blocking it, they will see it. It's not an if, but a when. Today we're breaking down exactly where kids are being exposed to porn and how to block it. And if you stick around to the end, because I'll be sharing a crucial tip that most parents completely miss when blocking porn. Welcome to the Parent Tech Sports Show, where I empower parents with the tech knowledge they need to know to protect their kids online. My mission is to demystify parental controls, share practical tips, and reveal the tricks kids use so you can navigate the online world with confidence. I'm your host, Jack Hughes, and because I grew up in this age of digital devices, I've had plenty of experience with getting around parental controls and doing things I wasn't supposed to. But those days are now over. Today, I use all that inside knowledge to help parents, such as yourself, protect their kids online. So to jump into this video here, I wanted to show you the stakes and what are the harms of pornography. Why is it important to block porn? Many parents don't realize just how damaging porn is for kids and for teens. So I wanted to give you some numbers about that topic, about that range. The first number was the average first exposure to porn is at age 11, and many kids see it even earlier. I, for one, was around that age of 11 when I was first exposed to pornography. 93% of boys and 62% of girls have been exposed to porn before the age of 18. And I can't think of a single one of my, at least guy friends, that I know of who haven't been exposed to porn before 18. Every one of my friends who I know quite well, who are 18 and up, all of them have at least seen porn at least once. And studies show that porn is highly addictive. It rewires the brain just like any hard drugs, just like any hard drug. And kids who watch porn regularly are way more likely to develop depression and anxiety problems. And exposure to violent porn normalizes abuse and distorts their understanding and kids' understanding, people's understanding of relationships, which makes them more violent and makes them think that sex is violent. I guess what I'm trying to say here is porn will glorify unrealistic and twisted forms or relationships. Like there will be a lot of porn encouraging step sis and step bro porn videos and whatnot. I don't want to get into the nitty gritty of that. I'm sure you can use your imagination and kind of think of what porn would be about. And to be honest, it's not just physical brain issues and mental health issues like the dopamine and the addictive aspect of it and the relationship aspect of pornography. I personally believe that porn is also morally wrong. It degrades women and it makes people depraved and a slave to their desires. There was one time I made a TikTok video where I talked about porn and I talked about how no one is proud of the porn. Whenever they die, they don't want to be remembered for the porn they watch. And that's because of the shame, because it's morally wrong. And when I posted that, on the comment section of that post on TikTok, I got a lot of guys talking about how they are proud of the porn they watch, and they would be proud when they die about the porn they watch. And I thought to myself, you're so proud of watching people have sex. Something has to be wrong in your head to say that. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, and rightfully so, my child will never search for porn. I've educated my child, him or her, on the harms of porn and the immorality of it. And that was also the case for many of my friends and many of their families. They never wanted to watch porn. Their parents instilled those values in them. They never wanted to watch it. But the sad and the scary part is they don't need to search out porn. And it's being fed them in this modern era. And I wanted to give you a little bit of example of where porn is being found. I mean, it's not just on websites. There are unexpected places where kids are seeing pornography. Number one, as you can imagine, would be social media. So Instagram, for example, will have softcore porn, softcore porn is everywhere on Instagram, and kids are just one click away from full-blown explicit content and even hard porn on Instagram. Twitter, or now as it's called X, might come as a shock to you, but X is actually one of the biggest porn sites out there. Not just softcore porn, but even hardcore porn. It's allowed on Twitter or X. Chat, the disappearing messages, makes it easy for kids to access porn, whether that's from friends or through anonymous accounts. And Snapchat's a big site where porn stars or OnlyFans stars will market their quote-unquote services on Snapchat to get people to subscribe to their OnlyFans. You also have sites like Reddit forums, Quora, or Discord, which are these are more forum sites. And these platforms also have a lot of uncensored content, uncensored pornography, and many subreddits fly under the radar. Many Discord servers also fly under the radar. I have a whole video on Discord, and I believe Reddit, but I could be wrong about that. So now that I've explained a little bit about where porn is found, what sites they're found, and what Instagram, how can you block porn on these sites, on these apps? You can't really block porn on these apps itself. The best way to block porn completely is to block the app, to block the services. So for an iPhone, for an iPad, for Mac, the best way to do that is to use Apple Screen Time to block these apps, to block them from downloading apps, and to block the websites for these apps. So you want to block Instagram, block them from accessing the app using Screen Time or from downloading the app, and then block the website version of it. So make sure they can't access Instagram.com, because a lot of times parents will block the app on the phone, but they won't block the website on the phone. So the child can just look up Instagram.com or Reddit.com or Twitter.com or X.com. The second spot where a lot of kids or teens will find porn on, will just be exposed to porn, and this is a big shocker to many people, and that would be music streaming services, so Spotify and Apple Music. Did you know that some quote-unquote songs on those services are just straight up pornographic audio or like erotic books? It's terrible, but there's a lot of that filth on Spotify, especially Spotify, and a lot less so on Apple Music. It's not just that, it's also just all the rap videos. Just modern music in general is very inappropriate. And a lot of the modern rap music videos are incredibly sexual and just pretty much have people twerking the whole time. Kids can also access explicit podcasts, a lot of, sexual stories, explicit stories that can be found, especially on Spotify, on the podcast side of it. And there's a lot of inappropriate album covers with just full nudity that will expose them to graphic material on these streaming sites. And the sad part is there's not much you can do to entirely block this, to entirely restrict this. There's no just one button that will block all of the bad album covers from these sites. For one, if you're using Spotify, I really recommend that you switch to Apple Music, just because Apple Music is a lot more tame than Spotify. Spotify is more like the Wild West. But there is still bad stuff that you could find on Apple Music, but there's a lot less of it on Apple Music compared to Spotify. You can also turn on the explicit content filtering, which will block all the E-rated songs, all the rap songs. But the problem is, it won't block the album covers, and it won't block some songs that are explicit, but the person who uploaded them just rated them as non-explicit. So the only way to completely protect your child from these streaming services, from Apple Music, from Spotify, is to completely get rid of it, to completely remove it. And the same thing goes with Amazon Music, with Tidal, other music streaming services. It's not just limited to Apple Music and Spotify. So the third place where children, yes, and teens will also find porn or will be exposed to porn, whether they want to or not, will be ebook and audiobook platforms. So platforms like Kindle, Apple Books, Google Play Books. A lot of these books will sell erotic fiction, which kids can easily access. Either they buy it or they view the sample of the book, or even On some more untamed ebooks platforms, there'll be graphic book covers, like nudity book covers, where they can also access porn. So there are a few things you can do to block this. You can use Amazon Household to set up a child's profile on Kindle. You can also block access to explicit books on the Google Play Store, so they can't view explicit books. Same thing with Apple Books. Using Apple Screen Time, you can block explicit books on Apple Books, and you can use that using Screen Time, and you can block the Google Play Store books using Google Family Link. So the fourth place where kids are finding pornography on is AI chatbots and virtual assistants. So there are many chatbots that will make AI generated content. Some chatbots, like Character AI, even engage in kids in sexualized conversations. In fact, in October, there were reports, and I believe they filed a lawsuit about a 14-year-old boy named Sewell Seltzer III from Florida died by suicide after being influenced by a intense emotional connection with an AI chatbot who either encouraged him to kill himself or talked about suicide. It just was a driving factor in his suicide. And there's a lot of other cases like that. Like there's cases of an AI chatbot, Character AI, encouraging the kid using it to kill his parents because they were setting up screen time limits for Character AI. And so kids should not have access to these virtual chatbots as friends, as romantic partners, quote unquote partners. And so you need to be able to block that. So use Screen Time to block all these AI apps, to block Character AI, make sure they don't have any AI apps on their device. And again, a lot of parents will make that mistake of blocking these apps, but they won't block the websites that are used to access these chatbot apps. So also block those websites. Use Screen Time to block the apps. Use Screen Time to block these websites. If you need more help on how to use Screen Time, check out my website. I got a newsletter. I got other videos, other content that will also break that down. Or you can work with me. The fifth place where kids will find pornography on will be able to access pornography would be gaming consoles. So gaming consoles like Xbox, PlayStation, even Nintendo Switch, if you know how to do it right, but that's very rare. Not many kids know how to access the internet using the Nintendo Switch. It's very hard, but at least Xbox and PlayStation have built-in web browsers. So you're able to use these built-in web browsers to look at pornography on these gaming consoles. So it's also important to disable access to these browsers on these gaming consoles. So use the parental controls built in on the Xbox, built into the PlayStation. You can also use parental controls on Nintendo to also restrict that as well. So all this is fine and dandy, and I just explained all about porn, where kids are finding it, and how to address these specific issues. But I want to go one step further, and I want to give you even more advice on how to block porn at the source. So what if there's a way we could block porn from ever entering your house? And you can do that by blocking porn on the router, on the cellular services. So how can you block pornography across all the devices? If your family uses iPhones, iPads, and Macs, you can use Apple Screen Time to go to settings, go to Screen Time, go to content and privacy restrictions, go to content restrictions, then go to web content, and then set that to either limit adult websites or approved websites only, and that will block at least the porn websites on the phone entirely. Now, if you need more help with that, check out my newsletter on my website at parenttech.support. Once you sign up for that, you'll receive my free guide on how to set up Screen Time, or the basics of Screen Time, which will give you the basics. It will also walk you through this with easy graphics. If you have Android devices, you could use Android Family Link. If you have Microsoft computers, you can also use Microsoft's built-in parental controls. The second way I would highly recommend blocking porn at your house is using router level filtering. So there's a free service called OpenDNS that I highly recommend that you install on your home Wi-Fi to block adult content on all of the devices using your internet at your house. You can also use, a lot of routers will have built-in parental controls in the router itself. So like the Google router, for example, you'll be able to turn on a toggle that will filter out adult content, even gambling and dating sites and whatnot. And lastly, we've addressed the Wi-Fi. It's also important to address cellular services. So your child can't just turn off Wi-Fi and use their cellular services. So many cell providers like Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, they'll allow you to block explicit sites from the cellular level. Lastly, I would also highly recommend to do regular device audits. Look at their phone, look at their app history. I'd say quarterly device audits or maybe monthly device audits. Look at their search history, look at what they're doing. It's just a general good practice I highly recommend parents do, just monitoring what their children is doing. You could have all the restrictions in place, but if you don't monitor what they're doing, that can be a big mistake. So the crucial tip that I teased about earlier is something I call the Google sign-in backdoor. So a lot of parents will think, I'm gonna block my child from using the internet, so I'm gonna block Safari off their phone, or I'm gonna block Google Chrome off their phone. And they're completely right in thinking this. How can you access, Pornhub.com if you don't have a web browser to use to access it? So they think that they just solved the porn problem by blocking the web browser. But the problem is, you just blocked the app Safari or the app Google Chrome off the phone. You didn't block the phone's ability to search, to use the internet. And so they're able to use something that I call the Google sign-in backdoor, or really any backdoor onto the internet. Now I call it the Google sign-in backdoor because one of the biggest backdoors is using the Google sign-in feature, but there are also other backdoors that they can find. And so it's important to block it at the source itself, to block the phone from ever using the internet, not just blocking Safari. You can actually keep Safari on there, but Safari won't be able to work because you've blocked its ability to use the internet. If there's one thing to take away from the day, it is this. Porn is everywhere, even in places you wouldn't expect. Blocking it takes layers of protection. Screen time, routers, gaming consoles. You need to take action now. If you need a step-by-step guide on how to set up parental controls on iPhones and iPads the right way, visit my website at parenttech.support. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm also sending you weekly tips to keep your child safe in the digital world. It's free, and honestly, it's really a no-brainer. I would greatly appreciate it if you liked it. Subscribe to this podcast and share this podcast with other parents who would want to protect their kids online. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time. Thank you.